And welcome back to Field Hockey with Hatfield. Another special guest with us here on the program. He is the head field hockey coach, I believe, in year 3 at the helm of the Gloucester Dukes, who are rolling right now at 8-0 overall. He previously, before becoming the head coach, was the J.V. coach, where they was 77, 1-1 in 6 years. Replaced the great Mike Miller, and he's doing a fantastic job. Joe Dougherty with us. Coach, thank you for stopping by. How's life treating you so far in this season? 8-0. It's always good to be unblemished this time of the year.
Absolutely. It's been a great start to the season. We've had lost a couple of really important players from last year, like all good teams do. But I think our youth and our chemistry and our talent level have really risen to the top come midseason. I think we're in really good form right now. Just trying to get through the latter part of the season, as you know, when you think you have a shot at the very end. Trying to get into the postseason is always a struggle, trying to keep people happy, keep them healthy, and keep them mentally prepared for each and every outcome that we might be coming up against.
Sure, and looking at this 8-0 start for you, you've beaten a bunch of quality teams. You've even played some teams outside the 757 in Prince George. I know your schedule's got some as well, but there was a game you had recently, I think, over Nansemond River, who played in the Class 5 state championship game a year ago, 4-1 victory, and you got a core of seniors that we'll talk about, as well as a junior who's just putting up some major numbers. Tell me what that win did about 2 weeks ago for your squad in terms of momentum, confidence, as you got some big matchups on deck here for your team here in the coming days.
Sure. The Nansemond River game we've been looking forward to since last year. Of course, we'd been fairly successful against them over the last several years, but they made some great adjustments in the regional championship, and they defeated us 2-0. We played pretty well, but we didn't close when we needed to, and they took advantage of the opportunities that presented them. So we're looking forward to another rematch with them because Allie is one heck of a coach, and she always gets her kids prepared. So they're almost like a district team to us, like a Menchville, because we've played each other every year. And so we pretty much know each other ins and outs. But winning that game, regardless of what rankings say, it was just very emotional for us to play as well as we did against a quality team, knowing what we're going to get ready to hit with these next 4 or 5 games, because we are now looking at a showdown today with Menchville, which is a rival within our district. And then we go on the road for the next 5 games. We start out with St. Catharines next week, and then we follow down to the Virginia Beach Sportsplex, and we'll play Grassfield and Washington Liberty, and then turn around the following week, and we'll travel back up to Richmond to play Trinity. So we've got some really good competition on the schedule. Tried to make it a lot more difficult than last year and in the past. But with that come the challenges. And for us, we only have 5 home games and we have to travel for 11. So that's always a concern whenever you have to get on the road near the end of the season.
Without a doubt. And I want to get to your background and some of your key contributors thus far here in just a bit. But earlier on the show, we had on Don Warner of Princess Anne, who coached before Princess Anne at St. Catharines, who's on your schedule. And he mentioned it about a little bit with the schedule, playing some teams outside the beach, which is a great district in the peninsula. You got a big matchup with Menchville, but just kind of dotting your schedule with different styles and teams. What's that do for you? Because this year, if I'm not mistaken, Coach, Gloucester, which has been previously in Class 5, now in Class 4 Region A. So it's going to be a new territory in terms of postseason for your squad, but I'm sure also excited about the challenge of trying to go win a state championship.
Oh, absolutely. We tried to make the schedule a little bit more difficult, realizing that we weren't going to get teams to come to us because it is difficult unless we have a good relationship with them prior to this season because we have a grass field. But I do have on my squad all 24 varsity players do in fact play year-round club hockey. So that really makes a big difference when it comes to having to adjust to the different surfaces that are out there between the different schools. We're going to go play on a AstroTurf field at St. Catharines. We've been down to the beach already with 1 scrimmage against Cox. We played at Lansfield's grass field. We're going to go to the training center and play a couple more games on the AstroTurf. And we've picked up games away like Prince George because they have a turf field, and we've got a good relationship with that school. So those games are extremely important to us, like Trinity. Again, we played them every year for the last several years. So we're looking forward to going up to their new turf that they got from last year. But those games are the ones that we need to prepare us for the postseason. And with us moving to Region 4, we've had people really trying to say, well, hey, congratulations, you're going to do well in the state tournament. And I said, well, it doesn't matter what division you're in. You still have to bring your game every time you play, no matter who the opponent is. Nobody's going to roll over and give us a state championship. If we're fortunate enough to earn that, then we will have earned it, because there are some very good teams that are in Division 4. We've done some outlook already to see that Atlee in Region B is undefeated at 9-0. Loudoun Valley just played in the National Invitational up in Pennsylvania, and they were currently, prior to that, 6-1. And Loudoun County is also a good program up in Region D. Then you have Region C, which is Cortland, who lost to Great Bridge last year, as well as Chancellor, Eastern View. There's Hanover, there's Patrick Henry out of Ashland. So there's still in Powhatan, who got beat by Great Bridge last year in the quarterfinals. There's a lot of great competition within the state. We just need to make sure that we stay healthy, we push through every game that we have, and we put our best forward each time, and that we're improving with each game. I don't want us to peak too early, but certainly the results that I've seen so far are very encouraging, that the team is coming together, they're blending together nicely. And that's one of the reasons that we've scored so many goals, even in comparison to last year against some of these same opponents.
Well, and you've got a background of knowing what it takes to compete at a high level and win a state championship. Fill the audience in on some of that. If I'm not mistaken, 2006, you led Walsingham Academy to a state championship. I think it was Jamie Barco was your big-time standout who went on to Louisville, and then you got to Gloucester. Give the audience out there a little bit of your history in terms of coaching and what brought you to Gloucester to eventually become the head coach of this program.
Yeah, I actually started out in 2001. All credit to Coach Winter, who was on the staff for many years under Mike Miller. If we circle back to 2001, it's amazing thinking back then. She was the head coach for many years at Gloucester, and I was her assistant head coach. And at the time, Mike Miller was one of our helpers within the program. And then I started a club 4 years later in 2006. 5 years later, 2006, the Peninsula Field Hockey Association. We started out with 48 members, rose to about 128. I really threw myself into the year-round hockey all the way around. I got a call from Walsingham that they were in need of a coach. I had several players within my club at the time on that team. And so I went out there and coached them. They were just coming off a state championship run, had lost 12 seniors. And so we started out rough that season. We started out 2-4. And managed to win all but one game the rest of the season. And we ended up upsetting Cape Henry Collegiate in the state championship in double overtime. The following year, we followed it up with another state championship run, and we beat Cape Henry in the semifinals in strokes. And then we went on to lose to Fredericksburg Academy, who's a very solid program up in the Fredericksburg area. And we lost to them. From there, I went on to Bruton for 5 years. Their record was 6-90 for the 6 years prior to me getting there. I left there after 5 years of coaching, and we went into the postseason each of the 5 years. We had a record of 77-22. And then I decided that it was time to stop traveling. I live in Gloucester. I was driving to the shipyard and then driving to Williamsburg for essentially almost 9 years straight. And so, as I called it, that golden triangle got to be pretty tough on me. So I came back home to coach here. I started out, and actually I didn't come back to coach field hockey at the high school. I was asked to be an assistant baseball coach. So I did that for 2 years. And after the first year, the J.V. position came open, and Mike Miller asked me if I would like to coach. At the time, he was my U16 coach. I was the U19 coach within my club. And I said, of course, I'd love to help. So I did that for 6 years, and we kept it going. Prior to my showing up there as the JV coach, they were always very successful, but then we became pretty dominant over those next 6 years, and that was all in part to the players. They really bought into a team first aspect, and I'm really a proponent of that's my mantra is I love my kids to have chemistry, be unselfish, and play well together. So then when Mike stepped down, I applied for the position, accepted the position, knew there were going to be challenges. Certainly I've taken over head coaching jobs at schools where they've been successful and unsuccessful. So I just tried to bring in the way that I do things, not upset the apple cart too much. And now that we're in year 3, I feel like it's definitely my program. And of course, we have a lot of pressure because we do have a couple feeder schools, a couple middle schools that feed to us. But there's always those challenges would come with each one of those players that want to play at this level where we're at. And so this season was nice that we started off with a scrimmage with Cox because we're now in different districts. And it was a nice, it was a nice friendly that I hope that Taylor and I will be able to continue for many years. It just made sense, and it really gave us a good measuring stick for what the season was going to look like right out of the gate.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, Cox is the flag carrier. I mean, they have the most state titles in VHSL history going back to the days of Nancy Folks and Taylor Roundtree, who played for Nancy Folks, just continued on that tradition as they remain a nationally ranked program. We've got a couple in the area with them and Norfolk Academy who square off this week in a big showdown. And Coach, you talk about rebuilding programs, which you've done at, Bruton and certainly the Walsingham Academy success you've had. It had to feel like an easier, smooth transition. You mentioned about the relationship you and Mike Miller have, but going from the JV where you won 77 of 79 games, only 1 loss, 1 draw, to have those same kids and then you get them to the varsity level as they move up, as you become the head coach. You don't have to rebuild things. It's just continuing on the tradition that was already established before you. And now here in year 3, they're so adapted to what you I guess have in terms of terminology, philosophy, and the principles that are instilled in them from the beginning at that JV level, correct?
That's absolutely right. And it stretches all the way down to the today during our Menchville game, at the end of the game, will be our middle school appreciation, where we have the varsity and JV players will be presenting each of the 2 middle school players or the middle school teams with their players with poster boards and appreciation of their support to come watch us play. And so we've reached out to as low as the 6th graders that are playing at the middle school. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, we hosted the first ever Page versus Peasley Middle School game at our complex, which was kind of a big deal for us because we want to show those young kids what it will be like to play at the highest level and play at our venue. So they got an actual scoreboard and the stands were there. And so it was really, really nice to just see everybody come out and support. And we made it later in the day so that the parents that are from the younger kids could come out and appreciate the level of hockey that's being played and see some of those older girls that they might look up to in these next coming years, because we've got 6 seniors, but we're still fairly a young bunch.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. It is a tight-knit community over there in Gloucester where they really love their student athletes and support their athletic teams in a great, great way. Let's hit on some of those key players for your coach. I know you have a core of seniors, a lot of underclassmen, and one that's caught my eye as a junior, Reese Miller, if I'm not mistaken, coming into this year, 54 goals, 37 as a sophomore, 17 as a freshman, as she is a wondrous talent for you, and I know has got a lot of potential as far as being maybe one of those player of the year candidates before the season is done.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a core of about 4 or 5 players that are truly leading the team. And we've got 4 captains for the team, and Reese is one of them, Cameron McDonough being another, and Avery Watkins and Kylie Parker. So between the 4 of them, they all understand what their individual role is on the team. Some teams think that their captains get a little bit headstrong and they think they're out there to really coach everybody up. And what they don't understand is that's not their job. And so our kids do a really nice job of maintaining their roles, keeping the ship straight and going straight ahead, and keeping it righted for us. And you're absolutely right. Reese is a special player. I've had her both in my club and within the program for probably the last 8 years. So I've seen her grow up quite a bit. Her maturity level is top notch for a junior or a junior class member. She's being recruited by some Division I programs, rightfully so. She was recently named to one of the top 40 to watch in her 2025 graduating class within the Maxfield hockey. So that was nice to see. But with that come challenges, because all of the field hockey, the small community, they do look for who these players are. So, it provides a challenge for me to make sure that she's out there on the field doing what she does. But she just doesn't score goals. This kid She has 18 goals already, and she's got 16 assists. So she has no problem using her stick work and understanding that distributing the ball was even more important. In fact, in the Nansemond River game, our first goal was scored off of a counterattack off a Nansemond River corner, and she led them down the field 3-on-1. And she was right in the middle of the field, dribbled at 60 yards and made a nice dump pass to the left. And then we scored. And so that was that's just who she is. She's a consummate team player, one heck of an athlete, runs track in the off season, stays in shape. She's part of Nexus. She was selected for the U16 nationals and all that stuff. Of course, they changed the age divisions this year, so she moved up to U18. So she wasn't eligible to go over to Iowa this year for the AAU games. But she's one of the leaders on offense, and it's real nice that we've got different leaders at different levels. I've got Cameron Dunna and Charlotte House in the midfield, Chloe West playing in the midfield. You know, Reese doesn't do it by herself up top. She's got several other juniors up there with her, Kenzie Reese and Kaylee Hall, and there's so many kids, Addie Jeffrey, and you go on defense, as they say, defense wins championships. And in fact, last year we lost 3 games, and in those 3 games we were shut out. So every game we scored, we won. And so that's kind of like our ploy this year. We need to make sure we put it in the net and then buckle down on defense. We did lose a couple of key defenders last year, which I think we are now and getting ready for game 9. But we also had 3 scrimmages to start the season in our jamboree. We had the Cox scrimmage. So, you know, to me, we're near the latter part of the season. So I can't really say that they're too young because now they have the experience. We've moved a lot of kids around to get the best chemistry within the team. On defense, we've got Avery Watkins, one of our captains, back there playing extremely hard, heading up the defense with Abby Junker and Michaela Clark and Caroline Klink. And then in goal, we've got Zbicki. She's back there playing hardcore. So Addie's playing one heck of a job, and goalkeeper did a real nice job when we started with Cox. So we're starting to grow and really start to pull together and discussing what's getting ready to happen today and the rest of the season. You know, the kids, they reassured me yesterday that we don't really look at the results. We look at our effort. And I want to make sure I get 100% effort out of everybody else. I'm not this believer that you got to give 110%. Just give me what you got, and we'll do the best we can. You know, when you're out on the field, you do what you can, and if you need a sub, then you raise your hand, and we move on to the next person, next girl up that's on the sidelines. We go 24 deep, so we will use as many as we need to. And to get the result that we want. But again, it starts with our effort, and that started in practice with preparation over these last several months.
That's terrific. Got a wonderful program over there, Coach, and we appreciate you so much. You've been so gracious with your time today. All the best to you and the Dukes as you take on the Monarchs and the rest of the season. We look forward to catching up with you at the Plex and the Regional Training Center in October as you've got some matchups coming our way here in Virginia Beach. So, again, thank you so much, and all the best on your journey to hopefully capturing that state championship this year.
You're welcome, Matt. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
That's Joe Dougherty, the head coach of the undefeated Gloucester Dukes 8-0. Our guest with us with field hockey with Hatfield. We'll take a timeout and hear from a couple of our sponsors and come back right here on our streaming channel on the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. We'll talk to you in just a little bit.